Teams.
Okay. All right, so we are recording.
Hi, Will.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, Will. Are you guys back in the office or online?
I'm still home.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
what was that?
I'm home too as well. Yeah.
I know the feeling.
George, you're in the office or home?
Yeah, I'm in the office. I've been back since like July.
Is
Kinda
it like
good to be back.
okay? Is it optional or you're kind of required to go back?
It's preferred to go back to the office, so
Okay, yeah.
yeah. But I mean, it's like a hybrid system. Back in the office, it's just
Jen, are you in Milwaukee or?
Yep, UWM. I'm currently living in Milwaukee.
Okay, you're living in Milwaukee. Okay, nice. Yeah.
Yep. And then you work at Sergeant Lundy, right?
I do. Yes.
Do you happen to know somebody by the name of Marty Daly?
Yep. He works in my work group.
Nice. That's my cousin.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep. Just had twins.
Yes. Yeah. He's getting no sleep whatsoever.
Yeah, that's what he's been telling me.
Yeah, no, Marty's a fantastic guy. Much nicer person than I'll ever be. I'll say that.
He's a kind heart. Yeah.
Yes.
He's a great guy.
Gentleman and utmost professional. I'll say that. That's recorded too, right there.
Yeah, definitely. At family gatherings, I try to like learn something. You know, he'll go on and on about civil engineering.
Yeah, well, I hear you with that. Yeah, you get a good. Well, I mean, I think we'll probably talk a little bit about how much work we do or what work we do, but yeah, at Sergeant Lundy, you get exposure to like civil and geotech work too. So.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Cool. So, I mean, it's past 5. If you guys want to start whenever, if you guys want to wait for more people, up to you. I mean, I guess I'll address everybody who's just getting here. We have 3 speakers from the Structural Engineering Association of Illinois, and they're going to speak to you a little bit about the SEAOI. So, yeah, take it away.
Cool. I guess, do you want to have me share my screen and do the presentation, John, or does that work? Or
Yeah, definitely. Do I have to give you some type of access to do that?
That's a good question. I don't think so because I seem to be able to kind of give yeah, I think that I should be able to share. Let's just see. Hopefully I don't screw it up. You guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, Lemia and George, if you guys want to chime in, I guess maybe we do a little bit of background about ourselves and we can go in the presentation and then we'll kind of do a little bit more and I guess kind of go from there. So, but I guess, so my name is Will Kolbuck. I'm a board member of Structural Engineers Association of Illinois. I'm also the chair of and hence why we're kind of talking to you, kind of reaching out to ASCE chapters, SEA chapters, student chapters all around Chicago. And I think some of you guys have said that you guys are from Chicago or maybe have boyfriends that are from Chicago. So just kind of reaching out and kind of showing you guys what we do. I know a lot of you may stay in Wisconsin, which is fantastic, and some of you may not be structural engineers. So, hopefully this isn't too boring for you guys. But I will say this: the one is that no matter what to go in, just get involved. Whether it's you're a structural engineer and you stay in Wisconsin, SEA of Wisconsin. I think they're based out of Madison. I'd get involved with them, or ASCE is always a good safe bet to get involved with as well. But I mean, I have been involved with SEAOI for my entire career. So I started off, I work for a company called Sargent Lundy, and I'm 33 now, so I'm pretty old. I've been with them since graduating, and I started doing things with Structural Engineers Association of Illinois right when I graduated. So the fall of 2011, I graduated in May, and I started getting involved with the Young Engineers Committee, and just kind of snowballed. And I think maybe Lemia and George can speak to this as well. But once you start getting involved with an association, it's hard to stop, and you kind of get roped into doing more and more things, which is a good thing. And you just kind of get to know a lot of people in the profession. So Sargent Lundy, what my company does is we do everything power related. So anything from coal power plants, nuclear power plants to renewable energy, we do that as well. We pretty much get the electricity from the power plant to the wind farm to your house, and everything power related, that's what we do. So pretty broad strokes. I guess George, let me know if you guys want to introduce yourself and kind of say what you guys do.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Lemia, and I work at Good Friend Magruder Structure. And we do mainly residential type projects. We also do schools, warehouses. I've been working there since 2016, so a little over 4 years now. And I've been involved with the SEAOI since I moved to Chicago, so since 2016.
And I'm George Abdallah. I've been working structural engineering for about 4 years. I joined the SEAOI 3 years ago. 2 years ago, joined the Young Engineer Committee as a co-chair of the New Graduates Program. I work at Desmond with Parking Garage Consultants. We have about 9 offices around the U.S., and we specialize in designing all sort of parking garages. I guess we can start the presentation now.
Yeah, no, that's by the way, something funny, George. I didn't know that you worked for them. I actually tried to get an internship multiple times with that firm, and they rejected me every time. So you're a better structural engineer than I am. Let's just say that. Okay, well,
go ahead.
Sorry, no. So I guess what is Structural Engineers Association of Illinois? So we're obviously focusing on Illinois, and what it is we're a bunch of structural engineer professionals, and we work towards everything structural related for the state of Illinois. Now, it may be different from ASCE. ASCE is very broad. It includes not only structural engineers, but geotech engineers, civil engineers, hydrologists, everyone along that nature. But for us, we're kind of unique in that this is all that we care about, or that we are really focusing on. The Structural Engineers Association of Illinois would seem to indicate that, but just structural engineers and the practice of structural engineering. We have a lot of core values, focusing on education and providing continuing education for our members, that sort of thing, which you guys probably don't care as much about right now. But what's something that's really pretty interesting is that one of our big ticket items are dinner meetings. That's when all of us get together, pre-COVID, of course. I think honestly, that's the best thing that we have to offer people, is just kind of getting together and meeting new people in the industry. When I started off, I had no structural engineering friends or people that I knew in Chicago that were structural engineers. And so for me, it's really important and kind of almost a leap of faith when I went to my first dinner meeting. But certainly stuck, and I found that it's been a great experience so far. A lot of people who are members are actually like principals of firms, owners of the firms who are actually making the broad decisions that, kind of direct, okay, what jobs are we working on, that sort of thing, as well as hiring too. So I know that maybe perhaps some of you guys are looking for internships for next year and that. And while it's certainly hard right now, if you become a Structural Engineers Association of Illinois student member, which I think it's $10 a year, so it's actually pretty reasonable, it kind of gains you access to some of these people who maybe you're looking for an internship for. So just something to think about. I'm part of the board, and we have about a 14-member board. It's very active. Again, a lot of people that are much older than me who are the ones who are, the owners of the actual company itself. George, you want to kind of take it from here?
Yes. So we just discussed some of the events that we have previously hosted and some of our future events. We usually try to plan a variety of events covering social, educational, and volunteering activities as well. One of our most common one is the happy hour, which we try to have at least one every 3 months. It's a great opportunity for young engineers to come and meet each other and network in a casual event. We previously had some happy hours in bars that offer some sort of games like darts or pool. So, you can break the ice easily and start to meet new people. As Will said, if you're new into town and you're trying to meet some new colleagues or peers, this is a great way to start. Recently we started to do the virtual happy hours, but I'm assuming by the time you guys graduate and you end up in Chicago, we should be back to the in-person one. And still, if you're curious and you feel like you will be moving to Chicago, you're more than welcome to attend any of our virtual happy hours. So either feel free to reach out to us or to John, and we can pass on the invite to you guys. And eventually, when we have our in-person happy hours, we always have like some young engineer members, board members there, or we'll be happy to introduce you to other people as well. So it's a really great opportunity to meet some young folks who just graduated, been working for a few years, and they can offer you a lot of helpful advice. Some of the other events we do is the monthly dinner meetings. Those meetings attract a lot of old engineers and veteran engineers as well. So this is a great opportunity for you to network in a more professional environment, and you get to learn a lot of the, new projects, new challenging events that's happening in the structural engineering domain. A lot of, this also offers some continued education hour for the old folks. This is a great opportunity for you to get some of those hours as well when you take your exams eventually. And, SEAOI has a great program for students, so they subsidize most of the cost for it. So it's really, like as Will said, for $10 you usually can get a real great deal. For the dinner meeting, we've been doing some virtual lectures recently, and these are just free to join. So you get to meet some people and learn something new as well. One of our main events of the year is usually the annual banquet. It's basically we reward anyone who's achieved some major successful projects over the year. We have any engineer or any firm can apply to join, present their projects, and then the SEAOI committee chooses a certain finalist, and they divide them into multiple categories. So you have projects that are divided based on their type, like you have high-rise, you have bridges, you have renovation projects, and they're also divided based on the size and cost of the project, because it's not fair to compete like $1 billion project as compared to a $5 million renovation at the same time. So each project is unique. Each project has their own specific complications, and they're all worth exploring. The winners are usually announced during the banquet, and it's usually a Saturday night event It's our main formal event where we honor the winners. We also honor some individual engineers. We give some outstanding engineer awards, and we also award the young engineers for their accomplishments as well. So there's a lot of information about this on our website, and there's a lot of information about our past and upcoming events. So please, if you're interested, always keep an eye or also subscribe to our newsletter so you can get information about our past events and upcoming events. We do also some volunteering events, and we'll take it from here to discuss some of them.
Yes, moving on to future events, we volunteer with the Greater Chicago Food Depository, and this is usually a Saturday service event, and we repack donated food and other products. So the facility receives a lot of food in bulk quantities, and volunteers are needed to kind of break down donations to more manageable quantities for redistribution to food pantries, soup kitchens, and shelters in Cook County. I don't know if any of you have cars and go to Chicago in the weekend, but it's a fun volunteering opportunity. I've done it myself last year. And of course, this year, the facility has taken all the necessary COVID precautions to ensure everyone's safety and whatnot. Another event we have is hosted by the Structural Engineers Foundation, or the SEF for short. It's one of SEAOI's several committees, and they host a lecture twice a year, one in the spring and the fall. I try to go every time, and the lectures are always very interesting. So this year, the seminar will be offered as a free live online presentation via Zoom. And the topic of the lecture will be the Hoover Dam bypass. I don't know if any of you have had the chance to see it in person, but it's truly an impressive civil engineering feat. So I encourage you to register for this event. I can send the registration link for anyone who's interested in this chat. Next slide, please.
Actually, and let me, if I may, just jump in one thing. For the Young Engineers Committee, all the, well, not all the events, but most of the events are actually free, and you don't actually need to be a member of SEAOI to go to these YEC events, the Young Engineer Committee events. You can get on the mailing list, sign up for it, but you don't actually need to be a paying member of Structural Engineers Association of Illinois. So I guess just in my opinion, I would say that it's actually something that's really low key if you're planning on going to Chicago or you live in Chicago. A lot of the events are free, but they cost like $5, $10, maybe $15 at the max. So they're actually really pretty reasonable and cheap. So just something to think about, that again, you don't need to be part of the actual broader association. You can actually just join the Young Engineers Committee events and mailing list, and you'll get just a mailing. I think it's every week, I want to say, and just kind of list what, hey, these are the events, and usually they're free. So just something to think about. If you're like, I don't even know if I want to do $10 for Structural Engineers Association of Illinois, that's fine. Just join the Young Engineers Committee events and get to know people, and if you like it, then think about joining the broader association.
Yeah, that's a good point. So now George will talk about the education benefits.
There are multiple benefits to join.
Hey, George, you might be breaking up.
My internet. No.
If your internet's going bad,
So, yeah, I was saying. As I was saying, joining the SEAOI especially if you're a fresh graduate and you're coming. And aside from that you will get with all of our multiple educational benefits, now that you guys are senior, starting to plan to take your FEA. I personally, my first year of work, so I was in, and I got a lot of advice on how to study and how to prepare for the exam, as well as some of my colleagues were helpful in sharing some of their resources with me, and that helped me do a great job at the exam. And then the next step, I guess in Wisconsin, you guys take the PE exam, but in Illinois, we have the SE exam, structural engineering exam. And Lamia recently took it, and I'm pretty sure that our refresher course and a lot of our other resources were, like, she took great advantage of them, and they were really helpful for her. So, and again, some of those courses you have to register for, but we have a lot of free resources, and you can always reach out to any of our colleagues or any board member of YEC and SEAOI, and they'll be always happy to help you and provide any advice or guidance and mentorship as well. The dinner meetings also, in the dinner meetings, we have a lot of mentorship programs sometimes that we usually have. Basically, you get to be paired with another engineer, usually an older senior engineer, where you get to shadow him, ask him any questions that you want, learn from him, network more, and help you grow professionally. All of those are available for both paying members and non-paying members. Now, obviously, we have discounted rate for the paying members, so if you're planning to attend multiple events, it's always helpful, and it will end up paying up in the long term if you end up joining and become a member. Some other events that we have that I've personally attended and were great, really helpful, were the trade shows. We basically, I met some of the steel fabricators and wood fabricators. I don't personally work a lot with wood, so it was really great exposure to learn some of their new state-of-the-art products that they have. And if you do work, like I work in steel sometimes, I got introduced to a lot of products that they were, like, we ended up specifying and using in our future projects because they helped us solve problems and some, you know, you need to always keep your education and SEAOI. Some other examples of structure symposiums that we do every once in a while. Some of the events are weekend long, some of them are like week-long events, and they're just filled with lectures that you can choose and mix what you're interested in, and you can just attend the stuff that you're interested in. And it's always helpful how much you learn. Like, it's always amazes me how much you go with like some expectations, and it always exceeds it because there's so many great lectures every time you attend some of those projects. If you skip to the next slide, please.
We have several peer groups. George and I were part of the Young Engineer Committee, and we host networking events. For instance, last year we had speed mentoring events where groups of 2 to 3 mentees were assigned to one mentor at a time, and we discussed for 10 minutes about just anything and everything related to career development. Then we rotated tables after the 10-minute session was up. So it was a really good event, and a lot of the attendees who signed up were really happy about it since they got the opportunity to talk to more experienced professionals from different companies. We also host the happy hours after the SE and PE exam dates, so around this time of the year and also in late April. And it's not just limited to folks who've taken the exams, so everyone is welcome. I used to go even though I didn't take any exam. We also do panel discussions and site visits. In fact, we have one coming up tomorrow. These are usually during the week, and they're typically between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. So I don't know how feasible it would be for you guys to attend, but you know, if you're in Chicago during the week, it would be a good thing to see. So tomorrow's site visit will be a tour of a bridge replacement project. And the last point here, as I mentioned before, we volunteer with the Greater Chicago Food Depository. And another committee is the Women in Structural Engineering, or the WISE group. They also host a variety of events, and I've personally attended a few of the book club events. Also, this committee is not exclusive to just women. Welcome. In fact, every time I've been, there have been men as well. So how the book club works, we vote for a book from a list of several options. And usually the topic is on leadership or professional development. And then we're given some time to read the book, like a couple of months or so. And that's another thing. You don't always have to finish the reading in order to participate or even read the book. In fact, once I think probably just about half of the attendees read the book. A lot of these topics you can have an opinion about without reading the assignment. The idea is just to have some sort of guide to spark a good discussion. Yeah, I really enjoyed the clubs. I found the reading material and discussions to be very useful, not just for your career, but also for personal growth. So yeah, that I really enjoy from the WISE group. Next slide, please. So the Dream Big event, that's a movie screening. It's about STEM and all the engineering projects around the world. It's usually a Saturday event. So for this event, we have the screening and STEM demonstrations, for instance, a Lego shake table and some take-home activities. This is more of an elementary to high students who sign up, but if you do sign up to go, you're signing up to volunteer for the setting up and any other kind of volunteer work that is needed over there. Then the Girls Build Day is a special STEM festival for the same age group as the Dream Big event. It's also a Saturday event, and it includes a panel discussion about STEM careers. And the attendees, they come, you know, they build, learn, and they network with professionals from different STEM organizations. Last year, it was held at the Chicago Architecture Center. And it's the same idea as the Dream Big event. So for instance, if you guys sign up for it, it's to help with the activities and any setting up. Next slide, please. Now we'll talk about the other committees.
Great, thanks, Lemia. So I think, Lemia, you had talked about the Structural Engineers Foundation, or SEF, and puts on a lecture, and I think we said November 10th. It's actually coming up. It's free if you want to chime in. It's virtual, of course. And what the Structural Engineers Foundation does, they put on 2 lectures each year, one in the fall, one in the spring, on a topic that might be interesting to a lot of people. They also do research grants and scholarship awards to students such as yourself. So, and it doesn't need to be, you don't need to be going to school at a university or college in Illinois. You guys could certainly apply for those research grants or scholarship awards. So just an FYI. And then we also do policy and participation. We're really involved with the Illinois Department of Financial Regulations, IDEA, PR, Financial and Professional Regulations. And then we also were really instrumental in changing up the Chicago Building Code, which hadn't been updated, I think, since the 70s or the 60s. And now it's finally synced up with like the rest of the US. it pretty much follows the 2018 IBC International Building Code and ASC 716. So we're really proud of that. Chicago has always kind of had problems updating things in a timely manner, so it was great to see the city as well as our association kind of step up and in lock and step update things finally. Some other things, if you do choose to join the Structural Engineers Association of Illinois, you become part of you get membership in the NCSE, which is the National Council on Structural Engineers Association. So that's pretty much our parent organization, or we fall under their umbrella. It's a national organization. It's actually based in Chicago. You also get the membership directory for the Structural Engineers Association of Illinois. So if you were ever to go to an event and you wanted to look someone else up, you can certainly do that. Pretty easy to do. We have a library, however, admittedly, that's been thrown into the loop with the COVID-19. So take that for what you will. We actually have some access to webinars, which may interest you. It's kind of more so for people who need continuing education hours, which hopefully if you guys get licensed, eventually you'll need that. And then I think George had said there's a banquet every year where everyone gets dressed up. And we pretty much give awards to both projects and individuals who deserve it. So pretty much right here, the only thing that you guys kind of really need to worry about is if you're a student, the student membership is $10 a year, which I think is actually pretty reasonable, especially if maybe you're looking to go to Chicago or stay in Chicago, depending on where you're at. I think it's a pretty good deal, $10, and you can start going to YEC events as well. Again, you don't need to be even a student member to go to the Young Engineer Committee events. I actually think that that'd probably be the best route, but hey, maybe you're like, I want to stay in Chicago. Student memberships for me, it's $10 a year, and that's pretty reasonable. And then let's just say you're graduating. We actually give a discounted rate for $75 a year for the first 2 years that you're working, which is, again, I think a pretty good deal. It does go up to $145 after those 2 years, but by then you guys will be making the big bucks. You guys will be millionaires. This will be no sweat right here. Those are pretty much it right there. And one thing again I'll leave you with is that I think going to YEC events is probably like the lowest commitment if you want to just try and dip your toe into the pool that is SEAOI. I think that'd probably be the best route right there. Here's our website, seaoi.org. Go there. You guys are probably way more tech savvy than I will be ever, so it's not too hard to kind of pick a membership type right there for you guys to be student. But again, we'd love to have you, and kind of that's our sell right there. And given that I think it's 7:40, probably 7:33, I'll make my SEAOI experience pretty brief. Maybe George and Lemma, you guys can speak a little bit more about yours, but honestly, I graduated in 2011 from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, and I started working at Sargent Lundy, the firm that I've been with since. But I kind of was looking for something to do after graduating, and this checked the box right here. I was like, well, I'm a structural engineer, and this association is geared towards structural engineers. Let's try. And I went to a lot of the YEC events, and I found like I really liked them. The happy hours were pretty fun. The site visits were cool. I did the Chicago Food Depository volunteer event as well, and a few others, and I found that it really spoke to me. And then I was asked to become the social chair for the Young Engineers Committee. Really liked that, and then I became the chair of the Young Engineers Committee. And after that, they actually asked me. I was nominated to be a board member of the entire association, and we're about 800 members strong, depending on the year. So it's not a small organization by any stretch of imagination. So I've been very fortunate, and I gave you guys just a really abbreviated timeline. But I guess if I'll leave you with anything, is that no matter what you choose, no matter what state you actually end up in get involved, stay involved. I mean, you guys are already going to ASCE events, so after you graduate, continue doing that. Go to ASCE events, or if you're in Chicago and you want to, come to the YEC events, if you're a structural engineer, fantastic. We'd love to have you. But I think just getting involved, and you don't need to become a board member or anything else like that if you don't want to. But I think getting involved, you start broadening your network, which right now as a student may not be all that interesting to you, but once you start working, it can really pay dividends. A lot of people I know have gotten new jobs because of their work in SEAOI. So I've certainly seen it firsthand, and it really does help when you're looking for that first job, maybe, or you're looking to move to a new opportunity. So with that, I'll let George and Lemia speak a little bit more. They're more closer to your guys' age group.
Thanks, Joe. So I also went to University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, and I first found a job in the suburbs of Chicago while I was living in the city. So it wasn't easy for me also to find new peers or anything new in the city. And SEAOI was very helpful at first, and helping me introduce, you learn about new places in the city, you meet some interesting people, you learn a lot, and this is definitely key in this association. And I just wanted to add that, yeah, it's the first few years the membership is more expensive, but actually both my previous job and my current job, they were both happy to pay the fee for SEAOI. So even after you graduate and you find a job, don't be afraid to ask your boss, hey, are you willing to pay for my membership? And in both cases, they were actually very happy to do it because they see the added benefit in it. And it was actually my boss and my previous job who actually pushed me into try to take more leadership position at SEAOI. And this was one of the main reasons I joined the Young Engineer Committee. And this reflects in a good way because as they see more leadership in you, as an association or organization, they will see more leadership and maybe getting the promotion or getting more responsibility in your job. So this definitely opens a way for you to grow in your firm, in your company, or if you might not like your job, this gives you an opportunity to network and meet other people and other peers who will be like, hey, you're sharing a beer with someone and they will say, hey, we won a few projects and we're looking for new job position to fill. Are you interested, or do you know anyone else who's interested? Guess what? If you're not there, someone else will probably take it. You're just sharing a beer with someone, doing something that you like. Sometimes we'll be just watching a Blackhawks game or a Bears game. I know you guys you don't have to enjoy the game, but you might find a new job and that will help you down, on the long road. So this is something to keep in mind for sure. Lamia, I'll leave the rest for you.
Oh yeah. So I learned SEAOI through my work. I did my undergrad in Massachusetts and my grad school in Pennsylvania, and I was only familiar with ASCE. You only ever hear a lot about ASCE, but not so much SEA. So yeah, I didn't learn about it until I started my career in Chicago, and I wanted to grow my network since I didn't know anyone in Illinois, and that's why I joined. And the first event I went to was the May dinner meeting, which is our signature event. I know George talked about this earlier. So in this dinner meeting, it's we have several awards. For instance, best project up to $10 million, best renovation project, and whatnot. So once you go to that dinner meeting, you just feel really inspired, and I think that event kind of what made me stick to SEAOI. And since then, I've tried to go to a lot of events, mainly the happy hours and other events hosted by the Young Engineer Committee. And then a couple of years ago, I got involved as the new grad co-chair, and that has been a lot of fun as well. And then another big opportunity for me in joining was so my short-term career goal is to get my structural engineer license. And I found that the people I've come to know through the Young Engineers Committee to be, just very helpful and resourceful with providing any reference materials you need to study for the exam and any tips you need to succeed. And I think if I wasn't involved, I wouldn't have had a strong support system. Because being in school is very different from once you start working. And depending on your company, when you start working, you could be, for instance, the only entry level engineer, and everyone else is much more experienced. So it can be a little bit intimidating. So you kind of have to branch out of your comfort zone. And for me, that was really important, just to connect with other new graduates. And here I am.
Awesome.
So, yeah. So
Yeah.
we can open this up for questions or open discussion.
Yeah, I was wondering if any of our members have any questions on the SEAOI or maybe even structural engineering in general, if you guys are willing to stick around a little bit and answer some questions. Feel free to unmute your mic or just type in the text box if you do have any questions. I know Kate has some.
And I will say, actually, before Kate, you go, and I find that a lot of people have like licensure questions and all that. I can answer those. I'm a licensed structural engineer in Illinois, and I have a PE in multiple states. So if you guys are looking for some help or some places to go for, I know you guys are probably taking the FE. You might need to actually do it before you graduate. Some schools actually stipulate that, but I can answer those licensure questions as well.
Okay.
I guess if it's fine, I'll start off with questions. Mine's a little bit more general, and I don't know if maybe there's like if one of you want to answer, if you all do, but it's really hard being like in school and kind of figuring out which discipline is kind of like the right path. Would you maybe be able to like talk about like your day in the office, like maybe one of you or all of you, just to kind of see kind of what a structural engineer does like on their day to day?
Yeah, I guess I'll go first, and then let me know, George, if you want to follow up. So I work with utilities and green energy developers, and that, like, actually, for those of you who are actually in Milwaukee, I do a lot of work with We Energy, which you guys probably pay your power bill to. To me, my work is a combination of a few things. I'm a little bit more senior, so I actually review calculations and drawings that people underneath me do, and then I actually stamp those drawings. But on a day-to-day basis, I guess for me, I'm either reviewing calculations, reviewing drawings, or also actually out on site troubleshooting in case the construction crews are having problems and they need us to be out there if they found something in the ground that they didn't expect, which happens all the time. Like, I'd say for me, at the very least, and maybe Lemia and George, you have some different experience, but I find it's probably about like 80% design work, 20% out in the field and kind of trying to figure out, oh, we have this existing structure. How can we modify it to handle the electrical equipment that we want to put up there? My side of the house is more industrial as opposed to like commercial high rise or bridge. And so I deal with heavy electrical equipment. That's kind of a bread and butter. So for me, it's always very cool and very interesting when you have an existing site and you have to, figure out a way to make everything work. And so I guess to answer your question on how to figure out, what discipline you want to do, just taking a step back even from my experiences, but I always found that going to construction sites interests me. And so I was really deciding between like construction management and structural engineering. And I found that I didn't want to be fully out in the elements, the hot days or the cold days. And so structural engineering kind of spoke a little bit more to me. But I'd say for those of you who are still trying to figure out, do I want to be a structural engineer? Do I want to be a transportation engineer? Just I'd say go to a bunch of events, kind of like you guys are doing right here, and say like, oh, structural engineering sounds like it could be really cool, or nah, this isn't really for me. And so trying to find your way can be tough. I mean, I had problems too, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, but luckily I've always kind of had a passion in wanting to go to construction sites that helped me figure out, oh, structural engineering is for me.
Let me just add a few things. I was also like confused at first. What should I choose? So I ended up minoring in construction engineering, and then I got a master's in structural because they also go hand in hand, but at the end of the day, your day-to-day job is different. So what I do now in design is, I'm guessing you guys learned some of the modeling like SAP or Revit or ETABS or any of those software that helps. So our day-to-day usually goes with the initial phase of the project. We have a small team, so we take care of the project usually from A to Z. We initially start planning with the planners or the architects to try to have a conceptual design at first. And we need to show them how this can work. So we try to lay out the columns first, and it's all on a drawing. Nothing is actually being designed. So we want to put the columns, we want to put the beams, where we're going to do everything, how's it going to look. And after we establish this, and this is a process that goes back and forth so many times, because the owner needs to also review it and approve it, and they also join us in some meetings as well sometimes. So the next step is we try and start doing the design, and this is where we get to our individual task, where we spend most of our day behind the screen, making the design, finalizing it, and then putting it on the drawing. So we end up spending a lot of their time doing Revit and setting up our drawings, all the way up to the construction phase, where we as structural engineers were mostly consultants. So in my previous job, most of our projects were in Chicagoland area, so we used to go on site way more frequently, usually after they pour the foundations, and then after they do the steel erection, and then by closure, we just go and make sure everything is all going well. Now, because a lot of the projects are outside of Illinois, I don't go outside as much, but we still we have some cameras, so we can go and observe everything that's been going on site. If you choose to do the construction engineering type, you got to keep in mind that your work schedule is different at first. So some people work like from 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. as compared to the design phase, the design office kind of job where you start at between 8 or 9 usually. So this is a major thing for me, because I wasn't trying to also work exposed to the elements and be able to be on site between 6 or 7 a.m. Some people that's maybe not a big deal, but to some other that could be a deal breaker. Geotech and other disciplines are similar, but it also depends. At the end of the day, it's usually if you want to be on site or if you want to be in the office, and then everything else is pretty much the same on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I would also like to add, I would say office work in a way is kind of more engineering. You're doing Excel spreadsheets of calculations, you're modeling things in structural analysis software, whereas I know in project management, it's more on the management side. It's also a lot of submittals and a lot of, it's more so not too technical, I would say, but it also has its own challenges. So I would say that's another major difference. But yeah, my day-to-day tasks are just a lot like what George and Will mentioned. Doing Revit models. I don't know if you guys have started working with Revit. Drafting section views, putting them on structural sheets. A lot of Excel spreadsheet calculations, and communicating with the architects a lot, because for my company, the architects are clients. Any other questions?
Just one more question. If anybody else doesn't have any, I just want to ask one and not keep you guys too late. But what would you guys say? So I'm a senior who's currently looking for internships for this summer because I will have another semester ahead of me next year. What would you say to students who are being pushed to get a master's degree or are considering a master's degree in structural engineering? Is it worth it, or does it depend on the situation?
I can say for me, for my company, specifically, it was not worth it. But I kind of went for grad school just to kind of to just give myself more time to apply for schools. I know there are companies that do require a master's in structural engineering. So it really depends on where you end up working.
Yeah, for me, in structural engineering, I felt that a master's is much more appreciated than in other domains of civil engineering. You get to learn a lot more in depth and more technical aspect of engineering. So when you're done with your grad school, and if like you're as a senior, you've taken steel one, concrete one, basic structural analysis, which are helpful. And obviously, if you find a job and after a few years of experience, you'll be able to pick up what anyone else, like a master student, has. But a master can give you an edge to help you get a head start once you get like you have your new first job. You will be able to compete more with the entry level and be able to be promoted faster usually. And as Lamia said, some firms, I know my firm, like my first job, I got it through the career fair at University of Illinois, and the company I joined, they had a requirement that they were only hiring master students. And for the internships, for the interns that we had, we were encouraging them to go and complete their master because otherwise we were not interested in hiring them. Now, obviously, this is a case to case, as Lamia said, but it does help. If you can find a job and you can start working, and this is what you want, this is definitely a plus. With the current economic situation, I know it's tough for some people to find internship or a job. So you gotta, see what are the other options. So you either find a job doing something else or try to get more technical experience in civil or structural engineering. So it's ultimately your choice too.
I'll say this, and this is kind of not a great thing, but like I'm old, and I actually got my undergrad in 2009, which was right when like the Great Recession was happening, which is a little bit mirroring what we're seeing now. And I couldn't get an internship. Like it was really tough for me. And so I ended up going back and getting my master's. It kind of bought me a little bit of time. Luckily, I was able to get a TA position, so like I wasn't incurring student debt. I know that perhaps some of you may need to do that. I will say this, yeah, in Chicago, it's more often than not, the structural engineers who be coming to Chicago will have their master's degrees. So just something to keep aware of, that if you want to go to Chicago, it may be tough, not impossible, certainly will not say that. It might be tough if you don't have that master's. Now, I can't speak to Milwaukee or Madison or other parts of Wisconsin. I'm just not that familiar. But if you're talking about Chicago and you want to perhaps end up there, it may make sense to go get your master's. And again, it may help because one, it's actually pretty tough right now economically. A lot of firms perhaps are not hiring, but it also will kind of give you that edge. And okay, another year or two, hopefully things will pick up back again, and then you'll be able to really shine and you have your master's and ready to go. So I'd say if you're able to do it financially and it makes sense for you, I'd say go for that master's. But again, you can be incurring a lot of debt to do that. So I totally understand if it's not the most ideal situation. So, but I have been in your shoes where it's been not a great economic situation when I graduated, and I got lucky in that I was able to get a TA position, so I didn't incur that much debt. But take it for what you will.
All right. Do we have any other questions? I don't think so, do we?
Actually, I do.
Oh, okay.
I was just wondering what kind of text would be best for you to kind of like pick up throughout your time in college. Like, I know I have like a steel manual from a class. I didn't know if there was any other like text that would be important to kind of bring along with you throughout your job.
Well, I will say that definitely the steel manual, like I think it's the 14th edition now, or maybe you guys are learning on the 15th edition, whatever the one you guys are doing. So definitely, if you're looking to be a structural engineer, at least for me, definitely the steel manual I would keep, and as well as ACI 318. I think 318, 14, or the codes themselves are definitely good. You'll need those at any structural engineering job that you do, as opposed to like supplemental books. What I still have my steel book, not my steel manual, but like another book, and I think it's like Salmon and Fisher or something. But I still find that I go back to some of my texts. I'd say like the major one for your steel 1 class, or maybe your concrete 1 class as well. Those are always good. Depending on where you're at, maybe the wood manual is okay, or maybe you guys have some books on like wood or masonry, but I found like the steel and concrete, those supplemental books that kind of like bring you through examples were pretty helpful, and I still refer to them often.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for me, like Will said, definitely the steel manual and the NDS for wood.
Okay,
Yeah,
sounds good.
My professor called this the Bible. I don't know if you see it, but it's the 15th edition
Right.
steel.
I shouldn't. I'll stop sharing. Yeah, I would say that something else to think about is that for if you guys take the PE, the codes that you have, you can use obviously for when you're taking the PE. So that's something to think about. And I don't know how it is in Wisconsin, but Illinois, you can take the PE anytime after you graduate. Then you just need to wait for the year's experience after you pass the exam itself. And so I'd actually suggest, if it is allowed in Illinois, or I'm sorry, Wisconsin, definitely in Illinois, I would take the PE exam as fast as you possibly can after graduating, because everything's still fresh in your mind. And then once you knock it out, then you just need to wait for the years of experience. So something to think about. I know my life has only gotten more complicated since graduating, so something to think about. And then if you do go to Illinois, you probably want your structural engineering degree, or license, I should say. And the PE I found is kind of good warm up to the SC. So just something to think about if you guys are targeting Chicago or Illinois.
Yeah, I would take the FE exam my last semester of senior year, because usually, I don't know, it depends, but usually that's the C semester. I took it in my last semester of grad school, and which was kind of too late, because I remember a lot of job applications were asking for the FE requirement. So yeah, definitely take it your senior year.
Or junior year. I think junior year you can take it as well.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Then, yeah. So
I'm also pretty sure to add to that, if you take your FE, the years that you spend getting your master's degree, if it's a year or two, that also counts as experience, depending on who you're working with. Because I know I'm working with a professor, and that's what he had actually advised me to do. So kind of depending, if that helps anyone, encourage to take it earlier.
yeah. I think if you get a master's, it counts for 1 year of experience for the PE. I think if you get your PhD, it's maybe 2 years of experience, something like that. So yeah, that's another reason that if you do get your master's, you're 1 year closer, I guess, to the PE, or it's the equivalent year of work experience. So
Cool. All right. Well, does anybody else have any other questions? Doesn't look like it. Thank you three for coming. We really
thank
appreciate
you.
it. Thank you guys for being here, and I wish you guys good luck.
Thank you, and good luck with your classes.
Thank you.
yeah, stay safe.
Yeah, you too.
All right, see you guys later.
All right, thank you. See
See
you.
ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Quick announcement for any members who are still on. I'm going to be sending out a email with a doodle so students can, basically a doodle. It helps us schedule the meeting. We're going to be scheduling our concrete canoe meeting. So just put any time that you have available, but look out for that. I'll send that out tonight. And then we are looking to have the concrete canoe meeting next week. So that's finally kind of coming soon. So look out for that.